Welcome in, Green Jeans. How are you? Better than you were this morning? What was going on this morning? Everything okay? Well, anyway. Woken up early because trash was all over the porch. Oh, well, that sucks. Then overslept, so no food or shower, and ended up late to work. Oh my god. Bruh, that sucks. Work was crazy to prepare for Father's Day weekend. And when you got home, no water? Ugh. Bro, that sucks. That sucks, like, bad. I hate that stuff. It's fixed now, but yeah, but dang, right. No, man, that it just messes up your whole day when things go like that. Like, I get that. I totally get that it messes up the whole day. Oh. So that's your big plans for, this weekend, work. Because Father's Day weekend. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything special this weekend. No biggie. I actually forgot it was this weekend. So, I didn't do a narration style thing to the beginning of this because I couldn't figure out a good one. Like, I didn't have a good start because this is actually kind of depressing to really think about. But it's not depressing for us, but it really colors like this whole era of these super millionaire, billionaire, the super wealthy. It really colors it in a completely different light, in my opinion. Because let me get to it. So, first things first, SpaceX, right? Just had its IPO, broke records, broke rules to break those records. But here's the reality. The SpaceX will never make money off of rockets. It'll always lose money. You don't make money off of rockets. It's too damned expensive and you can't make it cheap. You can make it cheaper, but it'll never be cheap. But basically, rockets are a vanity project that won't ever scale infinitely, so they aren't very good in a capitalist economy. And the economic core of SpaceX is Starlink. Starlink is a state-backed, infrastructure-heavy global telecommunications utility. It's predictable, recurrent subscription revenue. If I remember right, they make about like 20 billion a year or something like that off of that. But on June 12th, 2026, SpaceX debuted on the NASDAQ. And right before this, Elon Musk had rolled XAI, or Grok, into SpaceX, which XAI had already rolled Twitter earlier. So SpaceX is now pretty much Twitter and Grok. So, well, we all know that Grok is a cash incinerator. They lose $4.9 billion annually. That's just Grok. Twitter's not making money either, and I don't know the real numbers on that one, but I know they're burning through money too. Probably not $4.9 billion annually. But what Musk is trying to do is he's using Starlink's predictable revenue as a financial shield to hide the AI losses from venture capitalists who are tightening their control. If a normal company were to execute a sketchy transfer to hide debt, creditors will sue for the fraudulent conveyance, which is cheating the balance sheet. I mean, this is Enron level stuff. But when you have paper wealth of 1.1 trillion, as Elon Musk does right now, the rules ultimately change. So Musk dual listed SpaceX on NASDAQ, Texas, and anchored its legal footprint in Starbase. Why? Well, because a multi-decade legal battle with any army of corporate defense lawyers creates infinite attrition. He's got the money to fight. And these creditors will settle for pennies because they run out of money to pay their own lawyers. And it's long before judges can even make a ruling. So the other part of this is that how insidious it was that they listed it on the NASDAQ. It shouldn't have been. So companies have to get on a reasonable economic footing for a certain amount of time before normally they can be listed on the NASDAQ. Which, okay, I probably do have to explain this. So the NASDAQ is an index. S&P 500, Dow Jones. These are major index funds. You can buy into those, and they have a legal obligation to buy certain blue chip stocks that reach a certain level. Like they have to, because it's their fiscal responsibility. So getting SpaceX listed on the NASDAQ, where NASDAQ actually broke its rules or changed its rules to do it. Which, by the way, as far as I understand, it was the only index to have broke its rules to be on there. But that's still pretty shitty. Pardon my language, but it is. And here's why. When people buy passive ETFs and they invest in the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ fund, they mostly think a smart manager is buying the stocks. This is a lie. A passive ETF is a legal contract with the SEC to act as a literal mirror. The manager is legally forbidden from using human judgment. They have to buy certain things. They just have to. That's a very snarled thing. It's basically protecting the it's basically protecting companies. Passive EFTs have long been shadows shadows that the more nefarious companies can hide in. Like you think you're buying a good blue chip stock, or you think you're funding the NASDAQ, the thing the stock market runs on. But yeah. So the manager of an EFT isn't making choices. They don't choose which stocks to buy. They have to buy certain stocks that, man, this is really complex to try and break down easily. I don't want to just say, just trust me, bro, that they had to. It's how those ETF works, or EFTs work. No, I was right, ETFs. It's how these major index funds work. They buy what's large enough, but they only have a fixed income on which to buy, and they have to have a certain percentage of certain things. So the problem with this is that when SpaceX launched and was already listed on the NASDAQ, it means that companies had to sell off, or these ETF managers had to sell off actual blue chip stocks to buy SpaceX, which is hyperinflated because it's running, it's a money incinerator. There's only one sector that makes money in SpaceX, and that's Starlink. And here's a little secret. Beeping? Oh, I probably have my headphones too loud. You're probably hearing my headphones. I probably had them too loud. Is that better? Because I have the music on in the background. But the long and short of it is that by listing SpaceX on the NASDAQ, you only have so much that they have to buy, but they have to buy it, which artificially inflates the stock. Not only that, there's a moratorium on being able to sell the stock. It's locked up. Ha! Oh, okay. But you can't sell the stock. You can only buy it. You can only buy the stock from SpaceX. This artificially inflates the stock price right off the bat, which normally this is to keep a company, a competitor from super buying your stock and then dumping it. You know, basically causing your company to fail before it even gets out the gates. In this case, it's allowing, because it's already listed on the NASDAQ, which is why you had this waiting period normally before you could go on ETFs. It's hyperinflating the stock, so more people are buying, which causes the stock to rise in value. And nobody can sell. So even if they realize the mistake they've made, they can't even sell it. It's ridiculous. But NASDAQ, well, the index boards are private for-profit companies. And to capture the SpaceX hype, NASDAQ explicitly altered its rules for the June 12th IPO. This waived the traditional seasoning period and free float minimums. Free float minimums are, again, it's a waiting period. It's a free float that you don't really change the value of the stock right away because they have to wait for it to stabilize once something's, put on the market. And instead, they fast-tracked the SpaceX into the index in just 15 trading days, 2 weeks. Because it's on the list, trillions of dollars from automatic payroll 401ks are legally mandated to buy it. The market has lost its human filter, and just unthinking automated algorithms are pumping billions into this loss-heavy SpaceX. I mean, like I said, only one sector makes money. Everything else is losing money. Twitter, Grok, burn money. Rockets burns money. The only thing that makes money is the Starlink, which I hate to tell you, Musk fans out there, that's a losing proposition. As infrastructure grows, more lines, dedicated landlines are being built. People won't need Starlink. The people that'll actually use Starlink is actually reducing, not expanding. Like there's legit no way that a satellite system for internet will ever take over for a landline, a land-based system. It just won't happen. And this is because it's a hell of a lot cheaper to go out and replace a line than to fire a rocket and replace a satellite. Keep in mind that most of the Starlink satellites degrade after 5 years, like their orbit decays. So they're only up for 5 years, so they have to constantly replace them. Yeah, it's not going to work. And this method of pumping it into the index literally disconnected the company's stock price from its actual operations. Like pure and simple. What's up, Jade? I'll do a quick rundown of what I've already explained because we're not too far into it. But SpaceX had their initial public offering. And there is a reason why I'm explaining it this way, because we will get to the actual wider market and wider problems where it's actually more important for you guys to understand what's happening. So, SpaceX did this initial public offering on the stock market, bypassing of some rules, blah, blah, blah. They were put up on what's known as a ETF, which is the NASDAQ. You know, NASDAQ, S&P, Dow Jones. So they literally changed their rules so that SpaceX could go. It was so the NASDAQ could grow faster, like make it look like they're having a good year when they're really not. See, and that's what this all is it's a shell game. You know, SpaceX did a shell game because right before they did the Space X IPO, they rolled their AI or XAI company, which is Grok, into SpaceX. So when this went up on the stock market, you're not only buying SpaceX, you're buying Grok, which Grok already incorporated Twitter. So SpaceX is more a telecommunications company than it is about rockets. So, first lie, you're not buying SpaceX, you're buying Twitter. And if you think Twitter is a good stock, go ahead and look at how much money they make a year. If I remember right, they're still not breaking even. They're losing money. I can tell you that Grok by itself is losing $4.9 billion a year. $4.9 billion. Oh, and keep in mind, it's also one of the worst rated. It's slowly gaining speed, like it's getting a little bit better, but it's still bad. But it's a corporate shell game. He's hiding debt. That's literally what it is. And the whole reason why this is really insidious is because it got listed in the NASDAQ, which certain retirement accounts, certain stock brokers are legally forced to buy anything that gets listed on the NASDAQ. So people's retirement accounts are being, infiltrated by SpaceX, which is not a rocket company, it's a communications company. The only sector that they make any money off of is Starlink, which Starlink's only going to reduce in usage, not increase, because it's cheaper to build out a land-based infrastructure and maintain it than a space-based. Like, sure, the dreams, yeah, that would be wonderful. But you're never going to make money off of it. So basically, the critical part of this is that because SpaceX is now on this list, trillions of dollars from automatic payroll 401ks are legally mandated to buy it. Market's lost its human filter. They're automating algorithms, and they're pumping billions into this loss-heavy, speculative corporate machine, entirely separating a company's stock price from its operational reality. SpaceX is never going to be a big, huge company that's going to make a lot of money. So now what I'm getting to is like actually incorporating this to this macro economy, you know, this thing that's way out here. Well, how does this affect you? You know, how does this affect you at the grocery store? Where'd it go? So money's supposed to circulate, right? Money is supposed to circulate through society like blood. It's why the trickle down method never really works, and the trickle up works the best. You feed money at the bottom of the root of the tree, and it goes up. You know, that's just how it goes, you know, in the big circle. Well, modern corporate finance has created an isolated upper tier. So Google pays SpaceX $920 million a month to rent computing power. SpaceX takes its inflated stock and executes a $60 billion acquisition of Anysphere, also known as Cursor AI. So not only is SpaceX burning money with their own AI, they're now buying another AI and probably hoping to make a profit off of that one. The money is never leaving this 1%er loop. Yeah, the circle of debt, it pays us all. Yes. You know, that's the problem is that it's just these corporations funding themselves. And the problem is that they're burning money at a rate that they never have before, which is why it looks like Elon Musk is worth 1.1 trillion. But if he was going to turn around and sell his wealth and like actually try to get cash money out of it, he'd probably be in debt $20 billion. He looks like the world's richest man, but if he was actually to try and use that money, he couldn't. He'd lose because he has so much. As soon as he tries to sell, if he's trying to sell, everybody knows that it's a fire sale. They'll just wait him out until he absolutely, you know, you're getting the bottom price. Pure and simple. So, you know, your top tier economy celebrates all-time highs, driven by automated index inflows and artificial AI multipliers. Us, on the ground floor, well, we're squeezed by 4.2% structural inflation, driven by all sorts of shocks. And we're also squeezed by 3.75% federal interest rates. Anybody that has a housing loan that's, you know, through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac understands why those numbers matter. All of your debt bottom floor is at 3.75. The higher that goes, the higher your interest rate goes on your credit cards. You know, all that debt you pay. And now we're sitting here at a Ponzi breaking point with all this high corporate valuation, which is mathematically worthless if the end consumer has been priced out of existence. Like, if we keep getting squeezed and we can't buy the thing, where are they going to get their money to feed themselves? You know, most corporations run on 20%. On 20% actual capital. The rest is locked up behind all sorts of paying their employees, paying the 401ks that they're matching if they are, paying their land rent, because a lot of them don't actually own the land they're on. Or if they do own the land they're on, paying the taxes, paying their employees, paying those CEOs golden parachutes as the company fails, it crashes and burns. 80% of their money is locked behind paywalls. You have to pay to get to the money. They just can't. So if they took a 5 to 10% hit to their bottom line, that folds the company. Because remember, 5% hit to the total, they're only running on 20%. They've lost 1/5 of their market. That's why it hurts so much when, you can organize blackouts. When you can organize, we're just not buying anything today. Companies literally will fail. It sounds terrible, but think about it this way. You run like a corporation. 80% of your wealth is tied up in rent, bills, groceries, fuel. 80% of your money is tied up the same way. But if you were to lose 5% of your liquid cash, it hurt, but it's not going to cripple you because you don't have all of this extra. It's the difference of losing $25 a paycheck versus 2 to 5 million a paycheck. That's a huge hit. That means a whole lot can't be done. The only problem is that with SpaceX and doing what it's done, it's a company that's initial public offering literally made it, its first steps into the real corporate world made it too big to fail. Because it's tied with all of these index funds. It's part of the infrastructure now. There's nothing we can do. And it will fail. I'm sorry. And if it doesn't, they're lying. I'm just going to be honest right there. So basically, if SpaceX fails, and they don't have another leg to stand on, we are going to be required to bail them out. Problem is, we don't have the money. What's going to happen? We don't know. So here's the real problem. Recession? Jade, we have never seen the likes of what will happen here. The only good part about this is that it's only really going to affect companies. Major companies are going to be shattered. You'll have Amazon East and Amazon West and South and North. You'll have these companies that have to break themselves into smaller, more manageable pieces because there's nothing else they can do. Global economy, out the window. Because once that shock hits, and you realize that one company over here in America fails, and you can watch all the dominoes fall across the world. China will go through a massive recession. There isn't a country in the world that won't be affected unless they are absolutely self-sustaining. We thought the Great Depression was bad. Just think about how much higher we've risen, how much higher that skyscraper has been built. Well, that's what we get to jump off of. There'll be a friggin' financial crater at the bottom. And it's going to suck a lot of things down with it. But ultimately, this is actually a good thing. It'll be tough. It'll be hard. We'll survive it. Because most of our jobs aren't dependent on that. Most of us don't work in tech because that's almost all of what these companies are anymore. When they have to go back to the real brick and mortar, it's actually going to be good for the people because these companies are going to have fire sales. All these high expensive stuff that are slowly becoming luxury items, you know, like toilet paper, are going to have to come down in price because the people won't have the money to afford it. And they will have to sell it. So it goes down in price. You know, Walmart putting in those stupid bait and switch tags. Oh, sorry, digital price tags. Yeah, watch how quickly those go away when you start having to have a person have to put the sticker back on the item. You know, all of your tech-heavy, tech-required cash registers, you know, self-checkout, gone. Because you'll have to have a person in the way. Because those tech-heavy things are now broken. They won't work. You know, that's what a lot of these people don't understand is what's happening. They're losing access. All these big corporations, they think they have monopolies. They think they have, you know, hell, most of these companies that control the world aren't even a full generation old. What, I think Microsoft? Amazon's around 20 years old, a little over. Because weren't they founded in like 2002? Maybe earlier, but either way. Most of these companies, I mean, Google didn't exist in the 90s. Not really. It was a search engine, but not the corporation. You know, I mean, these people think they have everything, but in reality, there's a real good chance actually, I actually approve of that, oddly enough. But so the tech world has basically allowed a brutal monopoly. There are these machines that are used to make chips. You know, your computer chips. One is the ones that actually allow it to make the chip. It's called EUV lithography. Well, there's one company in the Netherlands that has 100% stranglehold on it. Nobody else has it. The number two is the TSMC in Taiwan. They hold all of the physical factories that make the chips. That's it. We've allowed this to happen. We have this dual monopoly that controls all the tech. And now we have the 90-day executive incentive. Your average Silicon Valley CEO lasts only 4.8 years. Their wealth is tied to stock options that vest in this quarter. If a CEO spends $20 billion today to buy NVIDIA GPUs or buy out software teams, Walmart Street sees the immediate AI growth and the stock jumps. Brief recap. So SpaceX does this shell game by using XAI to roll into Twitter rolls into XAI. XAI rolls into SpaceX. SpaceX gets listed on the Wall Street in their initial public offering. NASDAQ changed their rules so that SpaceX can be listed on the NASDAQ within the first 15 days. They're not supposed to. And welcome in, Infinite. Okay, so we already have a corporate shell game because Twitter doesn't make money, XAI doesn't make money, SpaceX barely makes money. Rockets are expensive. The only part of this whole equation of SpaceX that makes money is Starlink. Which Starlink, being a satellite-based internet, is only going to reduce in customers, not increase. After market saturation, it's going to slowly collapse. Because it's cheaper, infinitely cheaper, to use regular lines. Whether that's fiber optics, whether that's some other new tech they come up with, it's easier to fix and replace lines on Earth than ones that are way up there. Pure and simple. And as those lines get built out to more and more rural areas, you won't have to have Starlink. It's why satellite internet has never caught on and never will. It's always super expensive and you get shitty service compared to landlines. So anyway, with this corporate shell game of them putting SpaceX onto NASDAQ, this forces retirement accounts, major funds, the things that people don't really think of. They go to their broker, hand them money and say, buy stuff for me. That's what the broker buys. Because they're legally obligated to buy certain companies. Yes. So, by fast tracking onto the NASDAQ, SpaceX is now entwined with the corporate infrastructure of the United States. And because it's tied into the corporate infrastructure of the United States by way of retirement accounts and stuff like that, it's the world. Because the rest of the world follows the same NASDAQ ETF funds. So by breaking their own rules, reforming their own rules, they did this. So I just did a recap. This will be the third time. Hello, XO. How you doing? Oh, no, you're fine. I'm refining. This was more of a spur of the moment. I didn't have a normal start like I would normally have. But to basically have it make sense, I'm going to break this down in the most simplistic possible way for everyone, just so that we're all on the same page moving forward. SpaceX rolled Grok XAI into itself just prior to the IPO of being listed on the stock market, which Grok had already rolled Twitter into itself. So it's a corporate shell game. They took this debt-making company, put it into another company. They took a debt-making company, put it into another company. And then they put it into SpaceX, which kind of makes money. SpaceX is a telecommunications company. It's not a rocket company. They don't make money off of throwing rockets into the sky. In fact, that is notorious for burning money. If a bad fire up, a lot of money. Not only that, but the competition is getting stronger. So SpaceX will only lose money over time because they won't have as many rockets because somebody else will be taking over or taking some of those runs. So the NASDAQ is only going to lose money because SpaceX will devalue. Basically, we're in a closed corporate loop. Money is supposed to circulate through society, like lifeblood. But modern corporate finance has created an isolated upper tier. Google pays SpaceX $920 million a month to rent computing power. Figure that out. Why is Google renting computing power? Now I'll actually come back around to that. SpaceX takes its inflated stock and executes a $60 billion acquisition of any sphere. I said I'll get to it. So they acquire an AI company, SpaceX, who already has a $4.9 billion money incinerator built into it, XAI, buys another AI with $60 billion. But this was money that was given to them by Google. You see how this kind of goes in a circle? So your top tier is celebrating high, all-time highs because the automated index is, they're just passing around the funds. But those funds never trickle down. That's the problem. This is why they can say, oh, the economy's great, it's better than ever, we have all these trillionaires. And how do you think they make the money? Why do you think Elon Musk's a trillionaire? Because the money's not circulating. That's why everybody else is struggling. We have hyperinflation, we have this, and they're after our soup. It's crazy. But the good news is that once all this kind of collapses and fails, they will be so disconnected from us and from our daily life, we probably won't even notice. Like, you'll have this trillion to whatever it gets to empire that collapses over the top of us. By the time it falls down onto us, it'll be nothing but dust. We might lose 5 to 10% of our monthly money. Yes, we will feel that squeeze. We will feel that. But corporation, a 5 to 10% squeeze is basically half of their operating capital, because most companies only operate on 20% operating capital, where the other 80% is wrapped up in everything else they do. They can't have access to it. So, we have two problems right now with why all of this stuff is just kind of all broke and shattered and whatever it is right now. So, we have computer chips that are the backbone of everything we do, technology. Well, they're controlled by a double monopoly. You have one company in the Netherlands that allows for the ability to print the blueprints, for lack of a better term, for the chips. Then you have a company in Taiwan that has the physical factories that actually make the chips. That's it. That's the only two companies that make it. That's why we keep having a stranglehold. That's why we keep having this roadblock. It's hurting us all. Then we also have the 90-day executive problem. This is the other problem. So, most Silicon Valley CEOs, they only last for 4.8 years. According to my notes. Oh, it is. I think they called it The Big Short. But there's also, the Boiler Room. The Wolf of Wall Street. This plot has been here forever. But their value is tied to the stock options per quarter. So he has to make a certain amount of money per quarter, or 90 days. So, this 90-day tyranny exists. So if a CEO spends $20 billion today, and they're buying NVIDIA GPUs or software, Wall Street sees the immediate AI growth and invests. Okay. Wolf of Wall Street. So the stock jumps up because they hear AI. But if a CEO announces a 10-year physics project to build a radical new manufacturing plant from scratch, the short-term earnings drop. Active investors launch a board coup and the CEO gets fired. You know, basically how Elon Musk built Tesla. See, he pulled the ladder up behind him. He ensured that no other CEO can do it again. Because he was such a disruptor, and now he's just glad-handing them and doing the same thing he used to do. Or not the same thing he used to do, because now he's just protecting his wealth. And he's making everybody else poorer for it. You know, people don't realize that Elon Musk being a trillionaire doesn't make anybody else a damn bit richer. It makes us poorer. Because that $1.1 trillion is now locked behind him, and it doesn't circulate. Not in the way it used to. Taking a 10-year time span to create your own chip manufacturing is a huge risk. But if you win, you've broken the monopoly. And shit, you might even find out a better way to do it. Not only may you break the monopoly, you may create your own new one. But the system is legally and financially engineered to punish long-term thinking. You pay exorbitant rental bills of the existing chip monopoly because they're trapped by corporate impatience. Because these corporations can't think beyond 5 years, if you're lucky. I mean, there's solutions to this. You can ditch all of the extra stuff, but in reality, financially speaking, there is a real big solution to this. It's huge. Long-term planning. That's it, long-term planning. Increase the cycle of the corporate think. And the only way to do that is through you, through your wallet. You know, this is one of the things that I hear so much about, how the generations after me care so much. They're so much more empathetic to the world. And yet, they still use corporations that they're ideologically opposed to. Now, I would get it if, like, oh, I go to Walmart because there's no small town stores anymore because Walmart sold, you know, totally understand. There's very few small town stores. In most communities, there aren't any. Cool. I understand that. But Chick-fil-A, I hear you guys talk about it. But how horrific they treat their employees. It's like a cult. How horrible they treat the LGBTQ community. I'm not coming for it. I just don't understand how people who profess being very empathetic and sympathetic to causes will support things that they don't. Will support things that specifically go against their causes. I mean, and I don't expect you to follow my, me, it's like, yeah, I don't use Disney if I can at all help it. I have my reasons. The largest one is how they treated Stan Lee at the end. That was enough. Also, the fact that they didn't really... They put Kevin Feige in power, and I think that was the biggest mistake of their lives. Like, while early MCU is good, you could see the degeneration fall time after time. You could see it lose power. I saw it early on. I could see where these mistakes, these early mistakes that people call iconic, were actually going to bury the MCU. It's all I can say. You know, I mean, I'm not going to try and, but, you know, if you have issues, you stop using the thing. Do you know how much I want to buy certain EA games, but I don't because I won't support EA? Do you know how many things I restrict myself from doing because it'll support people I am diametrically opposed to? And I don't care if their product's good or not. It can be the best goddamn product out there. I ain't touching it. Not if I can help it. Because I stand by what I believe in. And I hear all of this activism on all of these different social medias, but they don't walk it out. You know, and I'm not trying to call any of you out. That's not what I mean. But when you find out how easy it is to make a company bend the knee to you, if enough of you get together and just go, well, fine, I'm not going to buy your stuff. If enough of you do it, that company has to bend a knee to you. You forget that we have the power. Where else are they going to get their money? How are they going to pay anybody? Sure, there's going to be a hard short time. It's difficult in the short run. You know, it sucks having to not watch the newest Star Wars. Of course, that might be a bad, because most people have hated the new Star Wars, and Disney bought it. Oh, I'm out. Because Disney can't do Star Wars. They can't. You know, and I don't know. And I'm not telling people to believe what I believe. I'm telling you to stand up for what you believe. You know, you hear all about this stupid activism of going out and protesting this or that or this. No, that doesn't do jack all anyway. Vote with your wallet. If you don't like the recent Xbox layoffs and rebranding and all of that, don't buy Xbox. Nice. Well, see, and I love these products. I love these properties. I hate Disney enough to go, nope. You know, it's just me. And I know that. I'm not trying to hold anybody else to that candle because you don't believe the same way I do. You know, all I'm trying to say is that if you're going to say something, stand by it. I'm watching so many performances, but so little action. You know, you see these performative right-wingers, performative left-wingers, performative in this or that, who say a whole lot but aren't willing to stand by it. They're not willing to do something about it. You know, with this IPO of SpaceX, I won't touch another Elon Musk product. And at one point, I was really excited to go buy a Tesla. I really wanted one. Not now. I'll never touch one. I'll never go on Twitter. I'll never use Grok. And I will never use Starlink. Because he cheated his way in, just like he's done every freaking time before. PayPal Mafia, do you know how he got in there? He wasn't even going to that college. He just hung around the guys and he had money. He was just an investor. Gee, the same freaking thing he's done every other stinking time. I mean, the only company that he actually, 3 companies that he actually founded himself was SpaceX, which he hired an engineer. He's never really done anything with it other than be a PR guy. He's Steve fucking Jobs. You don't get me started on Apple. I will never own an Apple. I hate Steve Jobs. All you got to know is Lisa. Look up who Lisa is, and you'll understand why I hate Steve Jobs. Long story short, It's his daughter he never acknowledged, yet still made a specific Apple Macintosh computer called the Lisa. His daughter's name. But he never acknowledged her, never gave her any money. He was that petty that he just did it to piss off her mom. I mean, also keep in mind that he was kicked out of his company twice. Well, again, you know, it's why I use mostly Google. Google's done some shady shit. Yeah, exactly. Why do you think I'll never touch an Apple? I've never had an iPhone. I've never had an Apple anything. Won't touch them. Because they still revere this stupid... I mean, the amount of exploitation he did to Steve Wozniak pisses me off. So there were 3 founders of Apple. Yes. Yes, it would. And I know everybody loves their iPods, their iPads, their iPhones, their earbuds. I can't remember what the AirPods. Like, oh, don't be sorry for that joke. That was a good joke. But if you only knew how intrusive all of those things really are. I have a buddy whose brother literally, because he had an iPhone, drove himself into debt because he had their credit card. Was it Barclays? I can't remember. Like, yeah, now you're getting to the point where I'm telling you how I really feel about some of these companies. You know, I mean, I was fine with Microsoft up until earlier this year and you guys know my standpoint on AI, but when you're forcing AI into my operating system and I can do nothing about it, done. You're not giving me a choice. Oh, but then you use Google and Google's changed their search bar. Yeah, but Google isn't forcing me to use their search. There's plenty of other searches out there that are just as good. Some of them are better. Simple as that. That's all I'll say. You know, you just have to take the time to inform yourself. You know, especially if you want to change the macroeconomic landscape. Stop supporting businesses where you can that actually do harm. Like, I stopped buying Hershey's. I think I'm going to take a $5 on that one, XO. And people wonder why I want to take away social media from anybody under the age of 18. You know, everybody's bitching because UK's, 16 and under. No, 18 and under. If you can't legally enter into a contract, you have no business being on social media. None whatsoever. It ruins your brain. Proven. But anyway, I'm going to go take a $5. And I feel so sad for some people. I'll be right back. Can you hear me now? No, I wasn't muted. For some reason, my mic changed. That was weird. See, they knew what I was going to rant about next. One, I'm glad that was a joke. But we live in a world where that's believable. That's the problem. We live in a world where somebody saying that is believable. How broken do we have to be? That's actually the problem, is we have to take a moment and go, are you real? That's why I'm saying, for the love of God, keep your children off of social media until they're at least 16. But I think, honestly, if you can't enter into a legal contract, you should not be able to sign a EULA, which is a legal contract, which any social media requires you to sign a EULA. So already for a child, doesn't work. So it means that the parent's held liable for what EULAs that child signs into. And because parents, well, on one hand, don't really have the time to be real parents. Thank you, economy. How are they supposed to take care of their kids? How are you supposed to make sure that your kids are good? If you want to know something that's really scary, find out that the elite send their kids to schools that ban having a cell phone, that ban having electronic devices. They have to read from a book. They have to use pencil and paper. Why do you think these are so important to the elite? And why do you think it's reserved for the elite? Because it's helpful, and I don't really need these. I don't know why I'm wearing them. It's so hard to explain why this bothers me so much. It's probably because I'm a dad, and it's probably because I grew up in a time before social media. Sure, you got bullied at school, but the next year, most of the kids forgot about it. But what does Facebook do every once in a while? Hey, do you remember this picture that you were tagged in? The constant reminders of who you used to be, what you used to be. Do you really think that's healthy? Do you really think that's good for people? I don't. I mean, imagine, I don't even know if you guys can, but my mom used to have this photo album, Obsession. We had something like 12 of them. And like pictures from all up and down when we were kids. All up and down. And oh my God. Every time she'd pull it out, it was always just this almost traumatic experience for a child. Jade might be able to, commiserate with me on this one. But that's how I feel about social media in general. Is that it's like your mom pulling out your baby pictures every day, though. Pointing out the mistakes you made every day. Every day? I mean, it was traumatic enough for me that my mom would do this every holiday. Yeah, the baby bath. Yeah. Those kind of stupid pics. When I worked at a 1-hour photo, we had a mandatory reporting thing. If we thought the pictures were getting too much, we had to report them. And I'm not talking about anything explicit in that way. I mean, everybody took, naked pictures of their kids when they were babies, but there was like this cutoff line where after a certain age, you stop doing that. A lot of people would think that's really weird now, but that's something the parents did. Now it's seen as weird. Don't blame them. But now you point to social media and Facebook and how it has access to all of your pictures. Oh, and you know your Apple backups, right? You don't own those. Just the same as when you put Facebook, pictures on Facebook, you don't own the rights to those pictures anymore. You're giving that up. Facebook and Apple can use those pictures however they want. You start understanding that, you start thinking twice about what you're going to upload, what you're going to put out there for everybody else. This is why I miss old school MySpace. Don't even get me started on TikTok. Infinite, we've had this discussion before, and I am fired up already. I effing hate short form media. I know all of you have a whole lot of fond memories of Vine, but look at what it did. Look at what it did in the short time it was around. Look at what it did to humor. Look at what it did to people's minds. I mean, it literally crash dived. Now humor is so surreal that you have to have a lore book if you weren't there when it was written. You have to be explained the whole freaking running gag. And Vine is where it started. Sure, it made a lot of careers. But, again, it's like people sit there and complain about how kids these days don't understand. They have a short attention span and then pick up their phone and go, really sucks. Oh, sorry, what? I was looking at my phone. Or how many times you go to a restaurant and you see a couple sitting at a table with their phones in their hands. You're in the same room. You're at a table with someone and you can't be bothered to talk to them? I mean, why do you think anxiety is on the rise? It's linked to the doom scroll. People on their phones are so used to this controlled, this curated environment that when you get into a live environment, when you get into work, when you get into this, it causes anxiety because you're not used to it. You're not used to people being around. You're not used to getting face to face. Just think about how many faceless channels there are on YouTube. Because these people have the anxiety of being face to face, of putting their face out there. Look what it's done to careers. The one I can think of is Corpse Husband. Yeah, a regular phone call? I saw that one coming a mile away. When texting got so big, it's like, oh, it's so much easier than a phone call. How the fuck is texting easier than a fucking phone call? Pardon my language. I don't understand that. It takes 20 minutes to have a 2-minute conversation. No, I get it. If you're in a loud environment, blah, 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 you can't make, a phone call. But I use texting as a general rule. XO, you change the words you use when you type. Just like you guys in chat, you're not saying what you actually want to say. You're saying what'll fit on the line. You're restricting yourself to a certain verbiage. You're not going to use complex words. You're not going to use words you know how to say, but may not be able to spell. You may know what you want to say, but you have to use Voice chat is living hell? Voice chat living is fire? You're gonna have to explain that to me. So you're saying being on voice chat is hot. You like it. It's hot. Voice chat is hot. Okay. That actually surprises me, Infinite, with how guarded you are about a lot of what you are. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. Hate making professional calls. I don't mind them. I know I have the power. What's the worst that's gonna happen? They hang up on me? Like, people get so heated over professional calls, and I've never understood it. Right? No, I totally get it. I totally understand. I mean, do you know how awkward it is for me to stand here and wait for responses when I ask a question? Well, okay, Jade, yeah, you're a professional on the phone. Of course, professional calls. Ugh. It's like Raven's wife, Patience. She's on the phone all day, I assume, or something like that. It's something like that she does. Yeah, I mean, okay. When I used to be a telemarketer, my first week, I absolutely hated the job and almost quit. My supervisor sat me down and he says, one thing that, honestly, I'm not even using hyperbole here. It literally blew my mind. It changed the whole perspective on that job. He's like, look, dude, you get to sit on your ass. You get to get paid $10 an hour to hear people tell you no. What's so hard about that? That flipped the script on the whole job. Like, legitimately just flipped it. Like, I became their best salesman by not selling. Might sound stupid, but that's exactly what I would do. Like, hi, sir, and I'd start going into the spiel, and they're like, you're not interested. All right, have a good day. Because I wasn't pushy. That stopped them right there. Like, whoa, wait. What's going on? Oh, I'm not selling anything. We're just going to be in the area inspecting homes, and I'd like to offer you a free inspection. How much it's going to cost? What's the catch? No catch. You want to buy something? That's between you and the inspector. Oh. Well, sure. Come on in. That's what would happen. Probably a good 6 out of 10 times is when, people like, oh, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in what you're selling. Not selling anything. Huh? I'm offering you something free. What's the catch? You might actually have a bug problem, and you get to talk that over with the pest inspector while he's there. Oh. Like, you can kick him out. You can tell him to go away. But now you know. Oh. Okay. Well, sales is easy. And a lot of salesmen today don't understand that. It's why I got out of sales. Because you don't have to sell to everybody that comes through the door. Hell, 1 an hour most of the time will make your paycheck. When I was in Radio Shack, I would actually try to get the people exactly what they needed and nothing more. I wouldn't upsell them because that guarantees that they'll have money to come back and buy again. That's just actual facts right there. Don't sell. Ask them what they need. Don't try. It's why I hate advertising. I hate those stupid advertisings where they don't even show you the damn product. It's this, ooh, wow, ooh, this and that, and yeah. Thank you. What the hell were they just selling? What was that ad for anyway? My favorite is when it's something like that, and it's like, tampons? How do these things relate? It's like, huh? Or the stupid medication commercials. What does flying a kite have to do with plaque psoriasis? You know, and also it's useful for like irritable bowel syndrome. It's useful for plaque psoriasis and irritable bowel syndrome. But if I only have one, what's it gonna do to the other? You know, it's like how Viagra was originally designed as a heart pressure pill, blood pressure pill. Found out it was absolutely ass at that. But guys were asking for more of it. So yeah, blood pressure never been higher, but it's never been higher. Advertising just makes no sense to me. I mean, people are paying to tell advertisers to stuff it. So advertisers stuff it wherever they can. Good. We all needed a good laugh. Oh my. You know, and that's the point. Yeah, I miss the old commercials where they actually told a story. They had a little fun with it. You know, people give beer commercials shit, but nobody ever learned from it. Parque butter. Or those stupid, I can't believe it's not butter commercials. Or, what was it, Country Crock? Where they literally talked with their hands. You never saw an actor on the screen. They literally talked, well, yeah, Grey Poupon was good, but I'm talking about how in I Can't Believe It's Not Butter, it was just like, it was somebody holding a knife and another person like, and they talked with the hands. You never saw anybody. It was just a voiceover and hands puppeteering the whole conversation, and you totally got it. Like you completely understood what was happening. Dirty mouth, clean it up with Orbit gum. It's a good one too. I mean, and it sticks in your head. Oh yeah. You know, and these new commercials, see, I wouldn't mind commercials so much if they made a damn bit of sense. Right? Well, see, for one summer I worked in demolitions. Pepper Farms remembers. The Family Guy skit on that one is still hilarious. And how just... Whoa. How terrible their commercials were if you saw it from a certain light. Do you remember we're at a time when, you know, certain people couldn't vote? Just didn't allow certain people on the golf course? Pepperidge Farm remembers. I mean, that's not what they were saying. They were talking about, like, you know, with grandma and grandpa, you know, you go to their house and have cookies. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about the social and economic status. Because, you know, most people don't care. Huh? Right? Like, I'm sorry, most of the women I know at that time of the month tend to stay out of water. I mean, I don't know that much about it, but I wouldn't want to. Yeah, I mean, but there's also, you know, like stupid commercials for like guys, you know, the stupid, you know, hair commercials now. I've only been jet skiing once, and I'm a guy. I'll be honest, I'd probably want the external product and not the internal product. Because at least the external product is gonna add a little padding for the waves. No, it's not really for any other protection, but you know, a little extra padding is not gonna hurt anything. You ever been on a jet ski? Those seats ain't soft. What? I don't understand how, like, commercials have got to the point. Like, they try so hard to be different that they've lost, like, what was it? Jaguar's almost going under because of their because of their ad campaign? Now, a lot of people are pointing to but like Jaguar had this ad campaign on the new car. I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably one of the like 5 people that thought that the new Jaguar looked cool. Like, I'll never be able to afford one, but I thought it looked cool. And that's gonna be a collectible car. I guarantee it. Because they had to produce at least some prototypes and working prototypes. And now that they basically canceled the line and the car's no longer there, somebody's gonna be making a ton of money in about 5 to 10 years when that becomes a collector's item. With that design that was ahead of the curve, because that's how I tend to be, is like I look at something like, oh, that's cool. What, it failed? Oh, 5 years later, 10 years later, what do you mean that style's back? It was never in the first time. You know, and people were talking about, oh, it's because they used androgynous people and this, like, no, it's because they didn't feature the car. It's because they featured people. That ad had nothing to do with the car itself. It had a lot to do with okay, so don't turn my head up this way and breathe in, because apparently I try to breathe my saliva. It had a lot to do with performance enhancing drugs. And I'm not talking roids. I'm talking about the people that wrote the, oh yeah, like the old Gap ads. I don't even know how Gap stayed in business. Everybody that I knew that had Gap clothing bought it from Goodwill or some other secondhand store. When we'd go to the mall and there was a Gap store or Old Navy, well, okay, not Old Navy, but Old Navy had similar things. We would play the Gap game. Well, wasn't that one specifically for Cialis? Another performance enhancing drug? I'm sorry, but if I lived in the middle of nowhere and had no neighbors for miles around, I think it'd be really cool to have a bathtub in the backyard. You know, taking a bath while the sun goes down in a nice hot tub. Oh wait, that's what they call those, hot tubs. Yeah, I'd probably have one of those instead. Like, what was the point of that commercial? It's supposed to enhance things in the bedroom. Now, ladies, I don't know if you know this much. You know, this is from a guy that's been married for a while, but if a guy gets too hot, and I mean actual temperature heat, things don't work quite right. It's a little difficult to keep going. So if you're in a hot tub and you're taking this special medication, yeah, I don't think that's going to work as well as you want. Yes, he's cooked. Well, keep in mind, you know, the way we work, we have thermal regulation on certain parts, which means if it gets too hot, certain parts want to get away from the body, which lessens the amount of extension that's available. And the faster the body wants to circulate the blood to the surface area and not into internal workings, because it's trying to cool itself off. It should be. It should be. But it's true, too. Which is why it never made sense to me. But Jade, if you haven't understood this by now, if it's too cold, I guarantee you the partner and them just doing a little bit, even if it's cold, warming each other up, yeah, that crawling back in doesn't last too long. In fact, it might make it last a little longer. That's why I never understood the whole cold shower thing. Or else I'm just strange and that doesn't work on me. Probably too much information. I apologize. Just for God's sakes, don't try to do the whole warming up stick like this. That's really going to hurt things. And I don't care on which side you're doing it. You know, guy side, girl side, doesn't matter. Don't try to warm things up that way. You might start a fire in her heart or his heart, but not the way you want. You trying to tell me I've gone too far, Green Jeans? Oh, I needed this tonight. I needed a good laugh, a good chuckle. Good fun. But advertising blows me away. Because, I mean, like, what we just had, a 20-minute conversation? No. About old advertising? But yet we can't. I mean, what's the last commercial you really remember? Like, specifically, like, you remember this ephemeral commercial. Oh, but do you even know what the product was? Let alone the name of the company? Like, why is advertising not memorable? And if advertising's not memorable, what's the freaking point? If it's not memorable, that means you're not recording it. That means it's not doing its job, and it's just a waste of money. Well, if you really want to know one of the biggest secrets, and works for guys and girls, if you ain't horny, you ain't healthy. If you've been ain't horny for too long, go see a doctor. There might be some kind of issue. Because it's not always falling out of love with your partner. Sometimes it's actually a medical issue. No, that's the biggest secret I can give you, right there. And I'm not talking like, thinking about it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No, but I mean, if you and your partner are having a little trouble in the bedroom of actually getting the engine started, might be something wrong. And I mean physically. Sometimes it's too low blood pressure, too high blood pressure. Yes, stay horny. Well, you do know that one of the biggest secrets they don't want you to know about retirement home. No. you better not, is that STDs run rampant in retirement homes, old folks' home. At least they're healthy. Well, yes, exactly. Oh. I don't know how much grinding is going on. I don't want to think about it. But my God, do I hope when I get that age, I'm one of those. Well, not passing around STDs, but... Yes, the damn blueberry, and I love it. I don't know, I mean... Yes, there's a whole nother joke there that I am not saying. I think I've tilted the scales a bit here and there. How do I put this? Well, the amazing quote, life finds a way. Anyway. Oh, I don't know. It's one of those things that, no. Well, I'm sorry, but the blueberries look like blue balls. Like, you have no idea how crude I can get. But I choose not to. Because I'm not sure. You actually had a question on a test about blue balls. What kind of test? Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. And regardless of what a guy wants to tell you, and here's another big secret, it's not life-threatening. It hurts, it's uncomfortable. You can get the fuck over it. You can get over it. Well, see, and that's the thing. Like, I believe in sex work. I believe that it has a function in society. If it didn't, it wouldn't be the world's second oldest profession. And if you're gonna ask me what the first oldest profession, I'll tell you it's a preacher. Kind of funny how religion precedes that. And I'm sure I could be wrong on that. They probably sometimes flip-flopped. Yeah, it is not life-threatening. It's uncomfortable. Get in a hot shower. Oh, and I apologize for my laugh in your ear, because you know when it's an honest laugh. I'm sorry, but I know it sounds terrible down the mic. Tough shit. I'm not gonna change it. Oh, but oh my God. The amount of times guys have tried to use that. Now, I will tell you that it does also make it very difficult for a guy to go to sleep, which is not life-threatening, but it is very annoying when you're trying to sleep. There's just so much that we just have to laugh about. There's so many things that we've been told are forbidden. We're not supposed to talk about it. And yet, we allow for talking about the old forbidden subjects. Okay, now that's funny. I like that. I mean, that's actually kind of awesome that you had teams of 4 for a sex education class. Because that also normalized it to a certain extent of talking about it in a group of mostly strangers. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. And all the things. Oh, wait, all the good things. That could be? God, it's been so long since I heard that one. I can't remember. Yeah, I just remember, you know, I grew up in the generation that had, some very, the 90s songs that didn't get on the radio, the B-sides, yeah. All the good things and the bad things that can be. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jade. Exactly. You need to normalize a conversation. See, and I think that's why a lot of the sex work conversations get really derailed because people get very uncomfortable about it. Because they think it's this, that, and the other thing, but it's really not. That is true. Infinite asking the real questions here, the important, groundbreaking questions. Sorry, I'm fidgety. I apologize. I realize I'm like dancing around. Oh, does XO not know? But see, a lot of that was nice. Well, was it a... I'm sorry, I have to ask this, XO. Was it a written, oral, or practical exam? Sorry, that emote is just hilarious. See, people used to tell me, like, oh, you know, you could be a stand-up comedian. No, I couldn't. It's like, yeah, I react to things. It's really hard to, you know, come up with like jokes off the, you know, ahead of time. I'm really good at reacting. He got no legs. Lieutenant Dan, he got no legs. Oh, nope. See, I just have fun. I mean, and that's what's funny. To me, I have just as much fun talking about the financial institutions as I do this stuff. It's a different kind of fun. Like, I laugh at this. I look over at that and just like, okay, so now I know what to prepare for. You know, and that's the big thing, is that's why I do this. I'm not trying to do it to, you know, get people afraid and doomsay. It's to prepare. Talking about advertisements. And you know what's funny? Advertisements almost always come down to sex. Because we were talking about boner pills. What was that video I watched? Oh yeah. Thank you to Boner Pills and BetterHelp for sponsoring this segment. See, what's funny is, speaking of comedians, well, yeah. And see, here's the thing. All right. You really want to understand something that is absolutely hilarious? What is the difference between the 3 Star Wars groups of 3? I don't know what to call them the triquels. So the biggest, longest running, most sales one, right, is the first three. Then you have the prequels, which were pretty good. Trilogy. Why? The three trilogies. Then you have the third one, which bombed. Now, do you really want to understand why the first one did so much better? Thank you, Jade. That is exactly why. Leia in a bikini. But not just that. You also had the male eye, or the eye candy for the females, the male. Harrison Ford. Sorry, Luke, you probably were too young for most of the people at the time. Solo in the tight jeans from Green Jeans. Got something to say, bud? Anyway. Then you had the second ones, which were pretty high in sales, and I'll tell you why. Queen Amidala and Padme. In reasonable outfits and a lot of fun. Han in the boots. See, I'm not a female. I don't really find men attractive in any way. You know, I mean, so forgive me. I just know what's supposed to be attractive. I never even thought about the boots being attractive. I also don't find women in like high heels or thigh highs attractive. I just think about all the damage they're doing to their ankles, knees, and hips. You know, wear comfy shoes, even if it's down the catwalk, on the catwalk. But then you have the sequel series, which didn't really have any eye candy. Yes, the choreography was also shit. Totally agree. Yes, I was too sexy for my hair. At least that's what my wife said. And she's the only one I care about, so to say, you know, anything. But anyway. Yes, choreography in the last trilogies was crap, but not just the choreography. Remember, they also specifically deconstructed each fucking character from the original series. They turned them into the ones that you're not supposed to like. I mean, look what they did to Luke, for God's sakes. They knew they couldn't really tarnish Han, so they just killed him in the first movie. And I don't know what they were doing with Leia. You know, they didn't let these actors pass on the torch to the ones that were to follow. You know, that was the problem. You removed the sexiness from it. And I don't mean just physicality. The sexiness of the characters themselves, that allure, that danger, or that... You know what I mean? You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what made Obsession so good. Was that there was this allure to the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's actually really freaking good. Backrooms. You had this allure, this sexy dangerousness to it. Disney can't do sexy danger. Sorry, they suck at it. All they can do is exploiting children to have terrible lives later on. That's all they know. They've been doing it for their whole fucking careers. Every freaking child actor, other than Kurt Russell, because I guess even Jodie Foster ended up having some weirdo. She got over it. But I mean, every Disney child has come out and said that something happened. Whether actionable in criminal court or not, but they were exploited. You know, and I feel bad for Daisy Ridley. That was her name. And her stalker? Whose stalker? Who did I talk about? Daisy had a stalker? Or was that somebody else? Either way, Foster. That's right. That was what it was. Foster. Oh, yeah. Don't even get me. Yeah, that's right. Never mind. Yeah. But, and Goldie Hawn, and yeah. Anyway, Hollywood, chews them up and spits them out. Disney does that more vigorously and more finer than any other company. Any other company. They exploit children on all sides. I mean, think about it. The Disney Renaissance in the 90s, Lion King, all of those, leads to the Disney adults now, who drag their kids along with, who are going to do it back there. Yes, Carrie Fisher did do something like that. I'm just saying that there was a lot going on behind the scenes, and not just Disney. Don't get me wrong. Disney's not the only one. But Hollywood forgot the allure. They forgot the danger. They forgot that sometimes you have to play it a little fast and loose with the script and let the actors feel their way around into the script. Not have such a tight, rigid script that you can't really do anything with, that you can't bounce around. Oh, hell yeah, Sly Cooper. Hell, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank. But Sly Cooper would have to be a rated R. And see, that's something that Hollywood really needs to remember. Hands down, the best, and this is in my opinion, the best movies in the MCU were the Guardians of the Galaxy. I've only seen 1 and 2, but I will stand on that hill. Sure, everybody says Endgame and all that, but yeah, but what did it take to get to Endgame, the Infinity War? It took 10 movies for you to be that invested? Well, of course it was going to make money. Because they did a good job of investing you. But just watch the best ride in Disney? Right. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, but the only thing that the Infinity War had going for it was that it was the culmination of a bunch of movies. Guardians of the Galaxy stood on its own. It was standing outside of the MCU for the most part. That isn't a testament to James Gunn. That's a testament to the concept itself. They took comic book characters that, as a comic book fan myself, nobody gave a shit about. Nobody cared. Nobody. Like, absolutely nobody cared about the Guardians of the Galaxy. I was probably one of the only people in the theater watching Guardians of the Galaxy that could name in the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that could name most of the characters that were leaders of the Ravagers, because they were the first Guardians of the Galaxy team. Like, I knew all of the characters. Now, that comic was relatively quickly canceled. But that's okay. I liked the story. For those of you who don't know, Sylvester Stallone in that was basically playing a longtime descendant that had come back from the future of Steve Rogers. He still had the super soldier serum in him. In fact, I think it had mutated. But I'm just saying that they took a collection of characters. Yeah, I'm going to be going here soon, too. Good night, Jake. But they took a collection of characters that nobody gave a crap about, that were never on the same team together until after the movies. But yeah, anyway, because I have rambled on and I have no idea where I'm going from here, I'm probably just going to call it and say, y'all have a good night. Because I think that's a good place to end it. We laughed. We cried about the economy. Not really, but just remember, we have a bifurcated economy. That means it's in two places. It means that when the big things fall, it won't really affect us. See, that's the beauty of having this two-tier economy. It's one of the last things I meant to get to. Is that because all of this finance way up here and we're all down here, it's really not going to harm us that bad. It's really not. We're not even going to, by the time that shit falls on us, it's going to be nothing but dust from the friction of burning through the atmosphere. Yes, never waste tears for something long dead. Good night. Love y'all. Have fun.